There's a book so ancient, so controversial, that it was removed from the Bible, buried, banned, and nearly forgotten. And yet, in recent decades, this book has refused to stay dead. It keeps re-emerging, whispered through spiritual circles, referenced in fringe science, and even acknowledged by theologians who once dismissed it as myth. The Book of Enoch. At first glance, it reads like mythological poetry, angels descending from heaven, giants roaming the earth, and cryptic visions of time bending and collapsing. But read deeper, and you'll find something far more disturbing and far more relevant to our age than anything in the standard biblical canon. Because Enoch doesn't just tell a story from the past. It tells a story about now. Why has the Book of Enoch returned? Why are modern truth seekers, mystics, and even scientists revisiting a text that was declared heresy centuries ago? The answer lies in its content and in its warnings. Enoch is not just about a group of rebellious angels. It is a code, a warning, a vision that cuts across time, revealing the spiritual mechanics of human corruption, divine justice, and cosmic cycles. It is a book that dares to tell the origin of evil not as an abstract force, but as an ancient betrayal. It dares to name names, to show the exact moment heaven's order was broken, not by humans, but by beings from beyond. It names the Watchers. It names the Nephilim. It speaks of knowledge given to mankind that was never meant to be revealed. Metallurgy, magic, sorcery, weapons of destruction, forbidden sciences that eerily mirrored the technological revolutions we are seeing today. When you read Enoch, you don't just see ancient history, you see the shadow of our present. But this is not just another lost book. Enoch's message is far more dangerous to those in power because it reframes the spiritual battle entirely. In traditional biblical narratives, evil is blamed on human weakness or on Satan as a distant, abstract enemy. But Enoch exposes a different reality, one in which angelic beings deliberately intervened, corrupted human DNA, and altered the Earth's natural path. It implies that we have been under a kind of spiritual occupation for ages, and that the war between heaven and these fallen ones never ended. It simply went underground. In this sense, the end times isn't about a future event. It's about the unveiling of a hidden past, one we were never meant to remember. And once we do, everything changes. Our history, our purpose, even our sense of what it means to be human. In this video, we're going to walk through the entire arc of the Book of Enoch, not just what it says, but what it means. We'll explore the ancient rebellion of the Watchers, the hybrid giants known as Nephilim, the apocalyptic judgment that followed, and the mysterious journey of Enoch himself through the heavenly realms. But we won't stop there, because to truly understand this book, you must see how it was silenced and why. You must see how its symbols, numbers, and prophecies are reappearing today in religion, in science, in global politics. And perhaps most importantly, how this ancient text might be a blueprint for awakening in the age we're living through now. This is not just a history lesson. It is not just religious theory. This is soul memory, encrypted in an ancient manuscript, waiting for you to see through the veil. The fallen angels are not just myth. The end times are not just in the future. And Enoch is not just a prophet. He is a messenger from a time before time. And the fact that you're watching this now is not a coincidence. It's part of the remembrance. And it begins here. Before angels fell and giants roamed the earth, before divine judgment rained down upon a corrupted world, there was a man, or rather a soul, whose very existence disrupted the laws of mortality. His name was Enoch, seventh from Adam, great-grandfather to Noah, and yet in the lineage of humanity, he stands apart. He did not die. He was taken, transfigured, and more importantly, he was chosen. The book of Enoch begins not with a dramatic war in heaven, but with a quiet scribe who is given the unbearable weight of recording the secrets of the cosmos. Why him? Why this man living in a pre-flood world of mystery and mutation? The answer lies in his spiritual resonance, a purity of being a soul so attuned to divine vibration that he could become a bridge between dimensions. Enoch wasn't a warrior, a king, or a priest. He was a watcher in the truest sense, not one of the fallen, but one who observed, listened, and remembered. In a world where knowledge was beginning to corrupt itself, his role was not to fight, but to record. The ancient Hebrew root of his name, Chanakh, implies dedication, initiation, one who is consecrated. Enoch then was initiated into divine mysteries long before the rebellion began. He didn't stumble into this role, he was born into it. And as such, his story reframes everything we think we know about spiritual authority. Divine messages were not handed to empires or temples. They were given to scribes in solitude. The book of Enoch presents him as a reluctant prophet, one who doesn't seek power, but truth. His journeys into the heavens begin when the world is already darkening, when the watchers have already begun their descent. He is caught between realms too human for the angels, too awakened for the earth. And it is precisely this liminal status that makes him the perfect vessel. His humility protects him from the corruption that seduces both angels and men. While others pursue glory, Enoch pursues understanding. And because of that, the heavens open. What he sees is staggering layered heavens, dimensional veils, and beings that defy earthly classification. He sees the future and the past collapse into each other. He sees the watchers in their pride and in their chains. He sees the judgment of earth and the redemption of the few. And all of it he writes, not to preserve his name, but to preserve the memory of what truly happened. Enoch is not writing for his time, he is writing for ours. But even more than a messenger, Enoch represents a rare archetype, the human who remembers before the fall. His consciousness is not fragmented. He is not weighed down by inherited trauma, bloodline karma, or corrupted DNA. In Enoch, we see what it means to be aligned with the divine blueprint, a soul not hijacked by ego or control. And it is this remembrance that makes him dangerous to systems of power. Because if humanity can remember what it was before corruption, then it can break free. Enoch holds that memory like a seed, hidden, silent, but potent. This is why his book was removed, not because it was heretical, but because it was activating. It does not preach doctrine. It initiates the reader into a forgotten cosmology, one in which angels are not symbols, but beings with agendas where heaven is not a distant paradise, but a realm of law, order, and sometimes rebellion. And in this realm, Enoch was more than a witness. He was trusted. Trusted to see what others could not. Trusted to write it down. Trusted to return to earth with truth so powerful they had to be buried for millennia. When we look at the apocalyptic tone of Enoch, we often assume fear. But underneath the visions of destruction is a deep reverence for justice. Enoch does not see wrath as punishment. He sees it as rebalancing. the fallen Watchers disrupted the harmony between realms. Enoch's role is to show us how that balance can be restored, not through war, but through remembrance, realignment, and reverence. The fact that he was taken alive into the heavenly realms that he walked with God and was a more is not just a spiritual anomaly. It is a map, a reminder of what's possible when a soul is aligned with divine law. Enoch doesn't just predict ascension, he lives it. And because of that, he becomes the prototype for those who will do the same in the end times. High above the earth, in the realm of the celestial order, there was once a group of angels assigned to observe humanity, not to interfere, not to guide, but merely to watch. They were known as the Watchers, or Grigori in ancient texts. These beings were not the radiant messengers of peace we associate with angelic imagery. They were powerful, vigilant, and bound by divine decree to uphold the laws of heaven by remaining distant from human affairs. But as the Book of Enoch reveals, their vigil turned into fascination, and fascination into temptation. What began as observation slowly morphed into obsession, and in that silent shift, the Great Rebellion began, not in open war, but in desire. 200 of these Watchers, led by a chief named Semjaza, made a secret pact. If one of them were to act alone, he would be punished. But if they all descended together, united in transgression, perhaps they could avoid judgment, or so they believed. Upon Mount Hermon, they swore oaths, binding themselves with curses, as if to seal their fate with full awareness. The very mountain where they made their descent would become a symbolic threshold between heaven and earth, purity and corruption, eternity and mortality. This was no random fall. It was premeditated, ritualized, and deliberate. The Watchers did not come empty-handed. With them, they brought celestial knowledge, powerful technologies, elemental secrets, and metaphysical sciences never meant for the human realm. In the Book of Enoch, each fallen angel specializes in a forbidden domain. Azazel teaches the art of war, fashioning swords, knives, and shields. Arachiel unveils the secrets of Earth's luminaries' astrology, twisted into domination. Penemu reveals the art of writing and mind control, opening the door to deception, masked as enlightenment. These gifts, though divine in origin, become toxic in mortal hands. Knowledge, when extracted from divine timing, becomes a curse disguised as progress. But perhaps the most infamous crime was not what the Watchers taught, but what they did. They took human women. They crossed the boundary of species. From these unholy unions came the Nephilim hybrid giants, monstrous in power and appetite, who ravaged the earth and consumed its resources. The corruption wasn't merely genetic, it was spiritual. The fusion of angelic and human essence created a third force, one that did not belong to either world. And this force, unchecked, began to destroy the balance of creation. The earth groaned, humanity cried out, and heaven listened. The descent of the Watchers marked the first global trauma, an invasion not of armies, but of divine beings abandoning their post. And in that fall, we witness a mirror of our own age. Consider the parallels: forbidden knowledge, weaponized science, distorted beauty, the manipulation of cycles once sacred. Enoch doesn't just tell us a story of the past, he offers a spiritual diagnosis of our present. The Watchers fell because they tried to merge higher knowledge with lower desire. And that fusion always brings collapse. What makes this story even more chilling is the intentionality of the Watchers. They were not deceived by a devil. They were not victims of misunderstanding. They made a choice. And that choice, according to Enoch, altered the very structure of the cosmos. The Watchers were meant to be guardians of the threshold between worlds. Instead, they became violators of it. Their fall wasn't just an act of disobedience, it was an existential threat to the architecture of reality. And the consequences would ripple across ages. But why would celestial beings, so close to divine light, risk everything for union with humanity? This is the uncomfortable question at the heart of the Book of Enoch. The answer may lie in the power of embodiment. Human form, though mortal, holds something divine in potential. A soul housed in flesh, tested by time, burdened with choice, has the ability to rise through experience, a journey angels cannot fully understand. The Watchers may have fallen because they envied what humanity could become. And in trying to possess it, they lost their own essence. In modern times, the Watchers are often mythologized or reduced to metaphor. But the ancient texts treat them as real active agents whose influence continues. Their descent is not just a mythic past, it is an energetic echo. In spiritual warfare, ancient contracts and ancestral distortions don't expire, they await resolution. And if Enoch's writings are accurate, then we are still living in the aftershock of their rebellion. The Watchers fell. Their children ruled, and the earth has yet to fully recover. This is where the true story begins, not with humanity's fall, but with the heavens breaking rank. Enoch was chosen not to condemn, but to document. The descent of the Watchers was never just about lust or rebellion. It was about the violation of cosmic law and the awakening of a divine reckoning that is still unfolding. When the Watchers crossed the divine boundary and took human women as wives, they seeded something the earth had never seen before, offspring that were neither fully angelic nor fully human. These hybrids, called the Nephilim, were giants in stature and force. But far more disturbing was their nature. They were unanchored, unbound by the natural rhythms of earth and birthed through a union that defied cosmic order. The Book of Enoch describes them as savage and insatiable, consuming everything in their path, livestock, forests, and eventually humans. They devoured not just flesh, but the balance of life itself. These were not noble titans. They were spiritual anomalies, dangerous not just because of their size, but because of what they represented, a fusion that never should have been. Born without the guidance of heaven and lacking the grounding of human soul evolution, the Nephilim embodied unchecked power. Their appetites grew faster than their wisdom. Violence became their instinct. And as their numbers increased, the earth's harmony disintegrated. The Nephilim weren't just destroyers of cities. They were destroyers of frequency. Their very existence began to tear the veil between dimensions, causing rifts in the fabric of reality that bled chaos into the human world. Across ancient cultures, these beings appear under different names: Anakim, Rephaim, Titans, Dadias. But the pattern remains: unnatural giants cast down often by divine intervention. Enoch's account stands out because it dares to name the source, the Watchers' rebellion. The Nephilim were not divine creations. They were consequences. They were living reminders of a choice that broke the order of heaven and the innocence of earth. Their fall was inevitable because their rise was unnatural. They were not designed to last. But their legacy Oh, that would endure. The Book of Enoch details how these giants turned on each other in grotesque wars. Their hunger spiraled into madness. They consumed blood. They practiced sorcery. They taught humans war not through education, but by example. Humanity became their playground, and eventually their prey. The Nephilim introduced a new kind of fear, a fear not of nature or gods, but of beings who had no limit, no moral compass, no place in the divine order. In their presence, humanity was forced to mature in terror. And yet humanity also began to imitate them. The seeds of empire domination and bloodlust were first planted under the shadow of these giants. But Enoch's narrative doesn't stop with the destruction the Nephilim caused. It also explores their spiritual weight. These were not just flesh and bone monsters. They had souls, souls born of rebellion. When the flood came to wipe their bodies from the earth, something eerie happened. Their spirits, corrupted and disembodied, did not return to heaven, nor descend into normal cycles of reincarnation. They lingered. Enoch calls them evil spirits that would roam the earth, possessing, corrupting, whispering into the hearts of men. In other words, the Nephilim never truly died. Their spiritual residue became what many traditions later called demons. This origin of demonic forces is radically different from traditional church teachings. It's not about fallen angels tempting humans, it's about their hybrid children becoming a metaphysical plague. And if Enoch is to be believed, many of the hauntings, possessions, and psychic disturbances we interpret today may be traced back to these ancient rootless spirits. What we call evil may not be external or allegorical. It may be the echo of a broken lineage. It is no accident that the Book of Enoch was buried. To expose the Nephilim as a spiritual consequence of angelic betrayal is to challenge the neat, moral binaries presented in modern religion. It complicates the narrative. It implies that humanity has been spiritually contaminated from without, and that part of our path to healing involves recognizing this trauma and purging it at the root. Not through fear, but through remembrance, through awareness. Interestingly, Enoch's writings suggest that not all Nephilim were the same. Some were more conscious, aware of their unnatural origins. Some, it's hinted, sought redemption, or at least understanding. This raises haunting questions. Can something born of sin become holy? Can the corrupted reclaim light? Or is there a spiritual ceiling that cannot be crossed once divine law is broken at the source? The Book of Enoch doesn't answer this directly, but it forces the reader to wrestle with it. Today, when conspiracy theorists speak of giant skeletons, elite bloodlines, or ancient DNA anomalies, they may be unknowingly pointing to the same trail Enoch left thousands of years ago. The Nephilim weren't just giants of the past. They are the spiritual archetype of corrupted power, without soul hunger, without compassion, knowledge, without reverence. And as we move into a world of genetic manipulation and transhumanism, the story of the Nephilim may not just be history. It may be prophecy. When the Watchers descended, they didn't come empty-handed. They brought with them the secrets of heaven, celestial sciences, divine technologies, and cosmic laws encoded into the structure of creation itself. But these truths, though sacred in their rightful domain, became dangerous once delivered into human hands. The Book of Enoch doesn't just accuse the Watchers of lust, it condemns them for revealing knowledge that humanity wasn't ready to wield. It was not ignorance that protected humanity before their arrival, it was divine timing. And when that timing was violated, what should have been wisdom became weapon. Each of the fallen angels had a specialty. Azazel taught men to forge weapons, and women to adorn themselves with paints, jewelry, and mirrors, ushering in not just vanity, but the manipulation of the physical form as a tool for seduction and power. This was more than fashion. It was the beginning of aesthetic illusion as control. Enoch frames it as a loss of innocence, when appearance became separated from essence, when outer image began to override inner truth. It was the birth of external manipulation, a theme still deeply embedded in our culture today. Others, like Semjaza, revealed enchantments and root cuttings, the earliest forms of sorcery and pharmacological manipulation. Humans were taught how to alter consciousness, but not in pursuit of spiritual evolution. These were shortcuts, distortions of the inner path, hijacked into tools for escape or control. Armaros taught the resolving of enchantments, Barakel astrology, and Kokabiel, the signs of the stars. These teachings, once held only in the higher realms, now gave mortals access to dimensional mechanics they could not comprehend. As a result, knowledge that once served alignment with cosmic order now seeded obsession, pride, and the hunger for domination. The Book of Enoch implies that this transfer of knowledge was not just a breach of protocol, it was a betrayal of trust between the dimensions. The Watchers were guardians, not teachers. Their assignment was to observe humanity, not interfere with its evolution. But in breaking that boundary, they contaminated the sacred curriculum. Humanity began to ascend, yes, but not in spirit, in power, in pride, in destructive potential. And that acceleration came with a cost, the collapse of balance between earth and heaven. What's most disturbing is how eerily familiar these forbidden sciences sound in today's language. The development of weapons beyond comprehension, the obsession with cosmetic perfection, the manipulation of perception through media, the exploitation of plant medicines for commercial or escapist use, the rise of astrology apps and viral predictions. These all echo the original sins of the Watchers. It's not that knowledge itself is evil. The problem is when divine tools are handed to uninitiated hands. The Book of Enoch teaches that wisdom must be earned through alignment, not stolen through access. The knowledge they gave wasn't just technical. It altered the energetic grid of Earth. The Watchers' teachings initiated energetic distortions, frequencies that disrupted natural cycles, corrupted timelines, and anchored spiritual parasites into the physical plane. It was a full-spectrum contamination, mental, emotional, biological, dimensional. And humanity, seduced by the rush of power, didn't question where it was all heading. They saw miracles, not manipulation. Advancement, not addiction. It's also telling that Enoch places such emphasis on writing and language as one of the forbidden gifts. Penemu taught the art of writing what seems harmless to us, but in ancient mysticism, language is creation. To give someone the ability to name reality is to give them the power to shape it. Words became spells. Narratives became weapons. Truth became programmable. And once the collective mind was programmed by those who had fallen, humanity lost its compass. This was not just about weapons of war, it was about narrative control. In spiritual traditions across the world, we see echoes of this fall. In Sumerian Hindu and Egyptian myths, Gods bring knowledge to mankind, and often with devastating consequences. Prometheus gives fire. The serpent gives the fruit. Quetzalcoatl brings astrology. Always knowledge is a double-edged sword. What the Book of Enoch does differently is name the cost explicitly, the destruction of harmony between dimensions. Forbidden sciences are not evil because they are untrue. They are dangerous because they are real and misused. Modern science, for all its achievements, rarely asks if it should pursue what it can pursue. That same blind drive is what led to the corruption in Enoch's time. The warning is clear: when knowledge is divorced from wisdom, it breeds monsters. Not just in myth, but in culture, in governance, in the psyche itself. The Watchers gave humanity keys to unlock the mysteries of creation, but they didn't give them the moral grounding to use them. That burden falls to us now. In the Book of Enoch, the earth is not a silent stage on which humanity acts. It is a living being, conscious and responsive, woven into the divine order with purpose and voice. When the Nephilim ravaged the land, when the Watchers defiled the sanctity of life, it was not just humans who suffered. The earth herself cried out. Enoch writes of this not as poetic metaphor, but as a literal cry, a vibration of agony rising from the wounded body of the planet. This idea, ancient yet profound, reframes how we understand sin, not just as moral failure, but as energetic distortion rippling through creation. The earth's cry was not ignored. It reached the heavens. The archangels Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel heard it and brought it before the Most High. This moment is pivotal. It marks the turning point in the narrative where divine justice is set in motion. But what triggered it wasn't just the rebellion of the Watchers or the violence of the Nephilim. It was the suffering of the innocent, the blood soaked into the ground, the harmony shattered, the natural order inverted. The earth, as a sentient participant in creation, became the witness whose testimony could not be silenced. What makes Enoch's telling so unique is that it gives the earth a moral and spiritual role. It is not passive. It is not merely exploited. It reacts. It aches. And in doing so, it becomes the first prophetic voice against cosmic injustice. Long before the concept of climate crisis or ecological collapse entered human vocabulary, Enoch's vision declared that when the earth is defiled, there are spiritual consequences. The cries of creation are heard in the courts of heaven, and judgment is not only reserved for individuals, it is collective, energetic, and environmental. This perspective challenges modern spirituality's tendency to separate the spiritual from the ecological. In Enoch's worldview, they are inseparable. When the Watchers taught forbidden sciences, it was not just human behavior that changed. It was the rhythm of seasons, the purity of water, the cycles of animals and plants. The Earth's blueprint, once aligned with the cosmic laws, became infected by foreign frequencies. The giants, with their monstrous appetites, consumed and polluted indiscriminately. The Watchers altered the skies with unnatural knowledge of the stars. Every layer of creation, physical, energetic, elemental, was impacted. The cry of the earth is also the cry of the soul. Enoch doesn't draw a hard line between external destruction and internal suffering. As above, so below. As within, so without. The groaning of the planet mirrors the aching of humanity enslaved by knowledge it cannot spiritually digest. When the earth is desecrated, it reflects the desecration within us, the broken connection to source, the dissonance between mind and heart, the silencing of the sacred. In this way, Enoch's vision becomes a mirror, forcing us to confront our role, not just as victims, but as stewards. What's haunting is that the earth's cry is not a scream. It is a low, sustained moan of mourning, a lament. It is the sound of something sacred being slowly strangled, and only those who have ears to hear can truly recognize it. In many ways, this echoes indigenous traditions around the world, which describe the land as a mother, a breathing spirit, not merely a resource. Enoch, despite being an ancient Hebrew text, taps into this same frequency, a recognition that the divine resides in the soil, in the stones, in the waters. When the angels bring the earth's cry before the Most High, it is not framed as vengeance, it is framed as justice. The cry initiates a response, a rebalancing. This is where the judgment against the watchers begins to unfold. But notice, it is not triggered by dogma or doctrine, it is triggered by empathy, by divine listening. The Creator responds not out of anger, but out of love for the violated. In this way, Enoch redefines divine wrath, not as rage, but as the restoration of harmony. And the earth's voice plays the central role in calling that restoration forth. This concept has radical implications for today. If the earth is conscious, then every violation we commit against her, deforestation, poison and drilling extraction, is not just environmental damage. It is spiritual trespass. And just as in Enoch's time, the consequences are not delayed forever. The earth's cry still rises. The question is, are we still listening? Or have we grown deaf to the groans of the very being that sustains us? Enoch reminds us that the earth is not only our home, it is our test. How we treat it reveals how aligned we are with divine law. And when we ignore its voice, we do not just risk ecological collapse, we risk spiritual exile. The Watchers fell not because they descended, but because they desecrated. The Nephilim fell not because of their size, but because of their destruction. If we continue to repeat the same pattern, then we too become echoes of the fallen instead of guardians of the sacred. As the earth cried out, and the heavens listened, the Book of Enoch reveals a turning point that shifts the entire cosmic narrative, the moment when divine judgment is set into motion. The cries of humanity, the suffering of the earth, and the corruption introduced by the Watchers could no longer be tolerated. The Most High convened a heavenly council, and at the center of this council stood 4 archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel. Each was assigned a sacred task in the enforcement of justice, not through blind punishment, but through precision, balance, and restoration. Michael, the great warrior and protector of the righteous, is commanded to deliver judgment upon the Nephilim and the fallen Watchers. His role is not only that of a soldier, but of a divine enforcer, an angelic being whose blade is not driven by vengeance, but by the restoration of sacred law. He is tasked with confronting the rebellious ones, stripping them of their power, and binding them in places deep within the earth. This isn't symbolic, it's dimensional. The Watchers are not destroyed. They are imprisoned, sealed in a vibrational tomb until the appointed time of their final judgment. Raphael, the angel of healing, is given a paradoxical mission to heal the earth by removing its infection. He is commanded to bind Azazel, perhaps the most dangerous of the Watchers' hand and foot, and cast him into the desert wilderness, into a pit of sharp stones. Over this chasm, A mountain is to be thrown, sealing Azazel until the great day of judgment. The symbolism here is sharp and direct. Azazel, the bringer of weaponry and vanity, is entombed beneath the earth, the very realm he corrupted. Raphael's role shows us that true healing often begins with surgical removal. There can be no restoration without the extraction of the root. Gabriel, the angel of strength and divine communication, is ordered to destroy the hybrid giants, the Nephilim. These beings born of unnatural union are now seen as irredeemable, destructive, and spiritually rootless. Gabriel is told to go against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication. It's a chilling command, and yet it underscores the gravity of the situation. These giants are not just violent, they are ruptures in the energetic fabric of Earth. Allowing them to remain is to allow the decay to spread. Gabriel's mission is a cosmic quarantine necessary to preserve what is left of the sacred blueprint. And then Uriel, the angel of wisdom and illumination, is given the task of warning Noah. Unlike the others, Uriel does not confront evil directly. His role is prophetic. He informs Noah of the coming flood, the divine reset that will wash the earth clean of corruption. This foreknowledge places Noah, and by extension humanity, at a crossroads. The flood is not just a punishment, it is a purification, a divine mercy in the face of irreversible collapse. Uriel's presence reminds us that even in judgment, the Creator offers guidance, clarity, and a path forward for those willing to listen. This orchestration of judgment by 4 archangels illustrates a profound spiritual law that divine justice is not chaotic, arbitrary, or emotional. It is ordered, strategic, and multidimensional. Each angel acts not according to wrath, but according to sacred function. Michael brings protection, Raphael brings healing, Gabriel brings cleansing, and Uriel brings revelation. Together, they embody the full spectrum of divine response, a cosmic immune system activated not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. The judgment of the Watchers is also deeply tied to time. Enoch reveals that the fallen ones are not destroyed immediately. They are bound, sealed, and held for a future day, the Great Judgment. This introduces a haunting truth that the consequences of cosmic betrayal are not always instant. They are often delayed, suspended in spiritual time, as if the universe itself gives every soul, every being, a window to repent, to recalibrate. But once that window closes, what follows is irreversible. It's important to note that these judgments do not just affect the fallen beings. Humanity is also caught in the aftermath. The Nephilim have left their mark. The earth has been scarred, and the spiritual atmosphere has shifted. The flood will not just erase the physical corruption, it will initiate a new cycle, a different frequency. But the trauma, the memory, the ancestral wound, those will linger. And those must be confronted by future generations, including ours. The Book of Enoch presents judgment not as an end, but as a necessary turning point in a story that is still being written. The actions of the archangels are not relics of myth. They are archetypes still operating behind the veil, still guiding, binding, warning, and restoring. As we face a world of rising chaos, weaponized knowledge, and forgotten sacredness, their roles become more relevant than ever. Divine judgment is not about fear, it's about alignment. And Enoch's account dares us to ask, which side of that alignment are we on? The Book of Enoch tells us, that after the Watchers were bound and the Nephilim destroyed, there remained a greater problem. The corruption was so deep that the very fabric of earth needed cleansing. This led to the great deluge of flood, not simply to drown the wicked, but to reset the cosmic order itself. It was a global spiritual reboot, a washing away of the contamination seeded by divine rebellion and human complicity alike. The flood represents the profound recognition that sometimes creation must start anew to preserve what is sacred. In Enoch, the flood is not a punishment by a wrathful God, but a merciful act of restoration. It is a means to reclaim balance and harmony after a catastrophic breach. Unlike later biblical texts that focus heavily on divine wrath, Enoch frames the flood as a necessary cosmic intervention, a cleansing fire disguised as water. Water here becomes more than a physical element. It is a spiritual purifier, a conduit of rebirth for the earth and humanity's soul. This interpretation forces us to reconsider familiar narratives, seeing the flood not as an act of judgment alone, but as a regenerative cycle embedded in creation. Noah's role in this story is pivotal, but often misunderstood. He is not merely a survivor. He is a vessel of the new covenant between earth and heaven. Guided by Uriel, the angel of revelation, Noah prepares for the coming deluge, embodying obedience, faith, and alignment with divine will. The ark itself is symbolic, a microcosm of creation, preserved through chaos. It represents the possibility of life and wisdom enduring despite cataclysm, the hope that the divine blueprint can be restored after corruption. The flood also serves as a boundary marker, delineating an epoch of innocence lost and a new age of human responsibility. The Book of Enoch describes the world before the flood as a place overwhelmed by the unnatural hybrids, dark magic, and violence fueled by the Watchers' teachings. After the flood, humanity emerges as a cleaner slate, but burdened with the memory of what happened, an inherited trauma both physical and spiritual. The flood cleansed bodies, but it could not erase the energetic and karmic imprints left behind. Furthermore, Enoch's flood narrative invites us to see history as cyclical rather than linear. Just as the flood cleansed a corrupted world, similar energetic cycles may be repeating today in different forms. The flood is a cosmic reset button, a reminder that when corruption reaches a tipping point, divine intervention may come in unexpected ways. This cyclical view challenges conventional understandings of time and prophecy, suggesting that end times might also be new beginnings, opportunities for transformation and realignment. The flood symbolism extends beyond its physical destruction. It teaches that purification often requires surrender, the release of attachment to old ways, belief systems, and power structures that no longer serve harmony. The waters of the flood dissolve what is rotten, allowing for fertile ground to emerge afterward. This spiritual lesson echoes in many esoteric traditions, where destruction is the necessary precursor to creation. Without this surrender, evolution stalls. With it, new life can blossom. Yet the flood is also a cautionary tale. It warns against repeating the errors of the past. The destruction of the Nephilim and the binding of the Watchers did not fully end the spiritual crisis. The aftershocks of their rebellion linger in the shadows of human history, subtly influencing power dynamics, hidden knowledge, and spiritual distortions. The flood cleansed the surface, but left the depths untouched. This is why the Book of Enoch continues to speak to seekers. Today, It offers keys to recognize and heal what remains hidden beneath the waters. In modern times, as humanity confronts environmental collapse, social upheaval, and technological disruption, the flood's message gains renewed urgency. It challenges us to consider how we might be living through another cycle of cleansing and rebirth. Are we resisting the necessary surrender? Are we trying to rebuild on corrupted foundations? The flood teaches that survival is not guaranteed. It depends on alignment with the divine will and the willingness to embrace transformation. Ultimately, the great deluge in the Book of Enoch is a testament to divine mercy wrapped in fierce love. It is the resetting of the cosmic balance, a chance to heal the breach between earth and heaven's spirit and matter. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, purification and renewal are possible, but only if we listen, remember, and walk the path of true alignment. One of the most enigmatic and profound elements of the Book of Enoch is the revelation of the tablets of destiny. These are not merely ancient scrolls or tablets carved from stone. They are cosmic records encoded with the laws of the universe and the fate of all creation. Enoch is granted access to these sacred tablets during his heavenly ascension, a privilege that marks him as a unique intermediary between the divine realm and mortal existence. The tablets of destiny represent not just knowledge, but authority, the divine blueprint that governs time-space and spiritual order. The concept of destiny in Enoch's vision is complex and multi-layered. It is neither fatalistic nor entirely predetermined. Instead, the tablets contain the cosmic balance of free will and divine law, outlining the potential trajectories of souls, nations, and even the entire earth. They serve as a record of actions, past, present, and future, a living archive where the consequences of choices are inscribed. This sacred script is not meant for casual reading. It is a code to be deciphered, a map to navigate the spiritual labyrinth. What makes the tablets of destiny particularly fascinating is their connection to sacred geometry and celestial mechanics. The Book of Enoch describes patterns of stars, angels, and heavenly bodies inscribed upon these tablets, linking them to the movements of the cosmos. This implies that time itself is cyclical and governed by divine rhythms encoded within the tablets. Understanding these rhythms is key to unlocking prophecy and spiritual awakening. It challenges us to see destiny not as a linear path, but as a spiraling dance between divine will and human choice. The tablets also symbolize the Akashic records, an esoteric concept describing a universal memory bank of all events, thoughts, and emotions. Enoch's access to these records positions him as a cosmic archivist, entrusted with revealing hidden truths to humanity. Yet this knowledge is double-edged. It empowers but also burdens. With insight comes responsibility, the responsibility to use this wisdom for restoration rather than domination. In the narrative, the tablets are closely guarded and difficult to access. This secrecy reflects the sacredness of divine law. Not everyone is meant to wield such power. The Watchers themselves rebelled against this sacred order by divulging forbidden knowledge prematurely. Enoch's ascension and reception of the tablets suggest that true wisdom comes from divine alignment and purity of intention. Without these, the knowledge becomes dangerous, a weapon of control rather than liberation. Moreover, the tablets of destiny serve as a cosmic ledger, ensuring that all beings, angelic, human, or otherwise, are held accountable for their actions. This introduces a profound concept of cosmic justice, where no deed, no thought, no intention is lost or ignored. The tablets guarantee that balance will be restored, even if it takes millennia. This is the spiritual foundation for the judgments pronounced in the later parts of the Book of Enoch. Enoch's interaction with these tablets is not static. It is a dynamic relationship that allows him to glimpse multiple possible futures, including the end times and the eventual restoration of creation. This fluidity disrupts rigid ideas of prophecy as fixed fate. Instead, prophecy becomes a call to awareness, a chance for intervention, and an invitation to conscious co-creation with the divine plan. It reminds us that destiny is not a chain, but a pathway navigable with wisdom and heart. In today's world, where we are drowning in information, yet starving for meaning, the tablets of destiny offer a metaphor for discernment. They challenge us to move beyond surface data and seek the underlying spiritual laws that govern existence. To understand these laws is to reclaim sovereignty over our personal and collective destiny. It is a call to awaken from the illusion of chaos and see the cosmic order beneath. Ultimately, the tablets of destiny in the Book of Enoch symbolize the possibility of returning to divine harmony. They are the blueprint for a world where justice, balance, and sacred knowledge are restored. Through Enoch's journey, we learn that accessing this wisdom requires not just knowledge, but transformation. A transformation that calls each of us to remember who we truly are within the vast tapestry of creation. One of the most profound and unsettling revelations in the Book of Enoch is its radical redefinition of time. Unlike the common human perception of time as a straight linear progression, past, present, and future, laid out like train tracks, Enoch's vision presents time as a complex, layered, and multidimensional reality. Time is cyclical, spiraling, and intertwined with cosmic rhythms that govern not just Earth, but the heavens themselves. This challenges everything we think we know about history, prophecy, and destiny. In Enoch's heavenly journeys, he witnesses the heavenly tablets, where time is recorded not as a simple sequence, but as an intricate pattern of ages and cycles. These cycles repeat, overlap, and fold into each other, creating a multi-dimensional spiral that reflects the soul's journey through many lifetimes and cosmic epochs. What humans experience as now is just a point on this vast cosmic wheel, a momentary intersection of eternal forces. This understanding has deep implications for how we interpret the concept of the end times. In popular culture and many religious teachings, the end times are seen as a singular future event, a final catastrophe after which salvation or destruction follows. But Enoch reveals that the end is less a final point and more a threshold, a transition between cycles of creation and renewal. The end is the beginning, and the beginning is folded within the end. Time then is a portal rather than a line. Enoch's vision also shows that certain events are pre-programmed within these cosmic cycles, prophecies that unfold because of energetic alignments in the heavens. However, these are not fixed in a deterministic way. There is room for human and divine agency within these cycles. Free will interacts with destiny, creating dynamic possibilities rather than immutable fate. This delicate balance between cosmic law and personal choice is a theme that runs throughout the Book of Enoch, and is a powerful lesson for spiritual seekers today. The multidimensionality of time also explains why ancient texts often contain paradoxical or symbolic timelines that confuse literalist readers. The days or weeks mentioned are not mere 24-hour periods, but represent vast cosmic ages, spiritual initiations, or energetic shifts. Enoch's vision invites us to read prophecy with nuance, recognizing that the language of time is coded to protect sacred truths from premature disclosure or misunderstanding. Another striking aspect of Enoch's conception of time is the presence of timeless zones or realms beyond earthly chronology. In these spaces, time can dilate, pause, or loop back on itself. Enoch's ascensions through the seven heavens reveal how angels and spiritual beings experience time differently from humans. This suggests that our limited perception of time is a function of our embodiment, and that spiritual awakening involves expanding our temporal awareness to align with higher dimensional flows. This notion also aligns with many modern spiritual and scientific theories, suggesting that time is an illusion, a construct of the mind, shaped by consciousness. Enoch's ancient wisdom confirms that time is flexible fluid and intimately connected to spiritual states. The past, present, and future coexist simultaneously on higher planes, waiting for the awakened soul to access them through expanded awareness. Understanding time as a multidimensional spiral rather than a linear arrow has profound practical consequences. It means that history is not a closed book, but a living process we can influence. It means that spiritual transformation is not bound by clocks or calendars, but by inner resonance. It means that end times are not something to fear, but an opportunity to realign with cosmic order and step into a new cycle of existence. This deeper understanding also reframes our relationship with ancestral karma, collective trauma, and soul contracts. If time is layered and cyclical, then healing past wounds and rewriting our destiny is not just possible, it is essential for breaking free from repetitive patterns. The Book of Enoch encourages us to awaken from the illusion of linear time and embrace the eternal now, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch teaches that time is a sacred mystery, a cosmic dance that invites participation rather than passive observation. It challenges us to expand our perception, to see beyond the ticking clock, and to remember that we are eternal beings, moving through cycles of death and rebirth, destruction and renewal. In this view, the end times are not the end of all things, but the awakening of a new temporal reality, a spiral path back to the source. One of the most vivid and captivating elements of the Book of Enoch is its detailed description of Enoch's ascension through the seven heavens. Unlike many spiritual texts that mention heaven as a singular realm, Enoch presents a complex, multi-layered cosmology where each heaven is a distinct dimension, a realm with its own inhabitants, laws, and mysteries. This journey not only elevates Enoch's status as a messenger, but offers profound insights into the structure of the cosmos and the spiritual evolution of the soul. As Enoch ascends, he passes through each heaven, witnessing scenes of divine majesty and intricate cosmic order. The first heaven is described as a place of clouds and winds, where the spirits of the dead dwell. It is a realm of transition, a holding place for souls before they move on to their destined realms. This introduces the idea that even in the afterlife, there are stages of purification and judgment, not a single destination. The second heaven is inhabited by rebellious angels, those who sinned but have not yet been bound. Enoch sees them lamenting their fate, separated from the presence of the Most High. This realm reflects the consequences of disobedience and the spiritual imprisonment that follows rebellion. It also shows that the spiritual hierarchy is nuanced and layered with beings existing in varying degrees of grace and fallenness. In the third heaven, Enoch witnesses paradise, the garden of righteousness, where the elect dwell in peace. It is a realm of light, healing, and joy, a preview of the ultimate reward for souls aligned with divine will. This heaven introduces themes of hope and restoration, balancing the earlier visions of punishment and exile. The fourth heaven is the domain of the sun and moon, celestial bodies governed by angelic beings who regulate their courses. Here, Enoch learns that even the stars and planets are conscious entities participating in cosmic law. This suggests that the universe is alive, animated by intelligence, and that human destiny is intertwined with the movements of these heavenly bodies. The fifth heaven reveals the hosts of angels who guard the gates of heaven and execute divine judgment. Enoch sees the chariots and the heavenly throne room where the Most High presides. This realm emphasizes order, authority, and the sacred administration of justice. It is a glimpse into the mechanics of divine governance beyond human comprehension. In the sixth heaven, Enoch encounters the angelic scribes recording the deeds of men, echoing the concept of the tablets of destiny. This realm is the cosmic archive, where every action, word, and thought is inscribed, a powerful reminder that nothing escapes divine memory. The gravity of personal responsibility becomes evident here. Finally, the seventh heaven is the highest, the throne of the Most High himself. It is a realm beyond time and space, shrouded in indescribable light and mystery. Enoch's encounter here is not just visionary, but transformational. He is granted insights into the ultimate source of all creation, the eternal center from which all life flows. This ascent represents the pinnacle of spiritual awakening. Enoch's journey through the seven heavens is more than a mystical tale. It maps the soul's potential path toward divine union, illustrating stages of purification, revelation, and enlightenment. Each heaven represents an aspect of the spiritual journey, confronting darkness, embracing light, understanding cosmic law, and ultimately returning to the source. This layered cosmology challenges modern materialistic views that see heaven and hell as simplistic places of reward or punishment. Instead, Enoch presents a dynamic, intricate system where souls evolve through experiences and choices across multiple dimensions. It invites us to expand our understanding of spirituality beyond duality toward a more complex, integrated reality. Moreover, the seven heavens symbolize the levels of consciousness accessible to the awakened seeker. Enoch's ascension models the process of expanding awareness, breaking free from the limitations of the physical and entering realms where truth is revealed in ever deeper forms. It is a call to inner exploration as much as outer revelation. In our present age, when spiritual seekers strive for higher states of consciousness, the seven heavens offer a blueprint. They remind us that ascension is a journey through layers of self and reality, each requiring preparation, surrender, and wisdom. Enoch's experience is both literal and allegorical, a map for awakening in a fractal, multidimensional universe. Through this journey, Enoch becomes not only a prophet, but a guide showing humanity the way back to divine harmony. His ascension through the seven heavens stands as an invitation to rise above confusion, to pierce veils of illusion, and to reclaim our place within the cosmic order. In the Book of Enoch, after the Watchers' fall and the devastation wrought by their offspring, a profound act of divine justice is enacted: the imprisonment of the fallen angels. Unlike the swift destruction often imagined in popular theology, Enoch reveals that these beings were not annihilated, but bound, sealed in a prison beneath the earth, confined within a dark abyss for eternity. This prison of the fallen is more than a physical location. It is a spiritual dimension, a realm where time, memory, and punishment are intertwined in complex, cosmic ways. This imprisonment is symbolic of a broader cosmic principle, the binding of corruptive forces to protect creation from further harm. The Watchers' rebellion was not just a transgression against divine law, but a rupture in the spiritual fabric of the universe. Their containment is a necessary sealing of a wound, a quarantine of spiritual infection, to prevent it from spreading unchecked. Enoch describes this abyss as a place of utter darkness, a void where the fallen angels await the great judgment, a final reckoning yet to come. Strikingly, this abyss is often depicted in the shape of a cube, dark, impenetrable, and perfectly ordered in its geometry. The imagery of the black cube resonates deeply within esoteric traditions and has been linked to themes of confinement, control, and spiritual suppression. The black cube is not just a prison for beings. It is a symbol of the soul trap, the dense energetic structure that holds fallen consciousness captive, preventing liberation. This concept echoes across many spiritual teachings that speak of cubes or boxes as symbols of limitation imposed by ego, fear, or external forces. Enoch's description emphasizes that the fallen angels retain their memory and awareness within this prison. They are not unconscious or oblivious. Instead, their punishment is eternal consciousness, confined within darkness, a torment compounded by their separation from divine light. This state embodies a paradox. The most enlightened beings, those who once walked closest to the Creator, now exist in a state of perpetual exile, fully aware of their fall, yet unable to redeem themselves. Their prison is as much psychological and spiritual as it is physical. This eternal confinement introduces profound questions about justice, mercy, and free will. The Watchers' fate is sealed not by capricious wrath, but by their own choices. Their rebellion was deliberate, and so is their punishment. The prison serves as a stark reminder that spiritual freedom is conditional upon alignment with divine law. It warns of the consequences when beings misuse their power and forsake responsibility. Yet it also opens space for the contemplation of redemption, resurrection, and the cycles of cosmic justice that extend beyond human understanding. The theme of imprisonment extends metaphorically to humanity as well. Many spiritual traditions describe the human condition as one of captivity, trapped in illusions, attachments, and karmic debts. The black cube can be seen as a symbol for the spiritual structures that bind souls to cycles of suffering and ignorance. Understanding the Watcher's prison is thus a gateway to recognizing our own inner prisons. the shadow systems we must transcend to reclaim true freedom. Enoch's revelation also has eschatological significance. The fallen angels are held until the day of judgment, a future event when their final fate will be determined. This introduces the idea of deferred justice, a divine patience that allows for the unfolding of cosmic cycles, human evolution, and spiritual awakening. It reminds us that the story is not over. The spiritual battle continues beyond physical time, hidden in realms unseen but deeply felt. In many ways, the imprisonment of the Watchers serves as a mirror for modern spiritual struggles. Just as these angels are trapped by their choices, humanity too faces entrapment by its own creations: ego, technology, collective fear. The challenge is to awaken from these prisons, to dissolve the illusions that confine, and to realign with the eternal light from which we have fallen. Enoch's account offers not only a warning, but a roadmap for liberation. The prison of the fallen is thus both a literal and symbolic cornerstone of the Book of Enoch's message. It shows the consequences of cosmic betrayal, the necessity of divine justice, and the complex interplay between punishment and mercy. But it also beckons us to deeper reflection. What prisons have we accepted? How can we break free from cycles of darkness? And what does true freedom look like beyond the confines of time, space, and karma? Understanding the prison is crucial to understanding the full story of the Book of Enoch, a story of fall confinement, and ultimately the hope of transcendence. Within the pages of the Book of Enoch lies a profound and unsettling vision of the end times, a prophetic revelation that stretches beyond mere apocalypse into the very heart of cosmic renewal. Enoch's prophecy is not a distant linear prediction, but an energetic unveiling of cycles, challenges, and transformations humanity will face as the veil between dimensions thins. It exposes not only cataclysmic events, but the spiritual currents shaping the fate of souls and worlds alike. Enoch foretells a time when corrupt rulers and false shepherds rise to power figures who lead humanity astray through deception, greed, and violence. These leaders echo the original rebellion of the Watchers, perpetuating cycles of control and spiritual distortion. Their kingdoms are built on lies and blood, their influence extending beyond earthly realms into subtle spiritual manipulation. The prophecy warns that such leaders will intensify suffering, but are ultimately temporary, a test for the collective soul. At the same time, Enoch speaks of the elect, those who remain faithful, pure, and aligned with divine will despite the darkness. These individuals are portrayed not as passive victims, but as active participants in the cosmic drama, bearers of hidden wisdom and spiritual authority. They serve as beacons of light and hope, carrying the sacred memory of divine law and offering resistance to the encroaching shadows. Their awakening is essential for the restoration of balance. Central to Enoch's prophecy is the figure of the Son of Man, a messianic archetype who embodies justice, compassion, and divine authority. Unlike later interpretations of a singular Messiah, this figure in Enoch represents the ideal of spiritual perfection that humanity can aspire to: a mediator between heaven and earth, who will ultimately bring judgment and healing. The Son of Man is both a promise and a challenge, a symbol of the ultimate reunion with divine source that awaits those who choose the path of righteousness. Enoch's vision of the end times also includes vivid descriptions of cosmic upheavals, stars falling heavens, shaking, and elements dissolving. These are not merely physical disasters, but manifestations of spiritual transformation on a grand scale. The dissolution of old orders, the breaking down of corrupt structures, and the cleansing of energetic pollution prepare the way for a new era of harmony. This upheaval is necessary, painful, and yet hopeful. Unlike fear-driven apocalyptic narratives, Enoch's prophecy emphasizes the cyclical nature of time and the opportunity for renewal. The end times are portrayed not as a final destruction, but as a pivotal turning point, a cosmic reset aligned with divine justice. The upheaval will separate truth from falsehood, light from darkness, and will inaugurate a new age of spiritual clarity and freedom. The Book of Enoch also warns of spiritual deception. During these times, false prophets, counterfeit miracles, and misleading teachings designed to confuse and enslave. This cautionary message resonates deeply today when information and misinformation flood collective consciousness. Enoch's prophecy serves as a call to discernment, urging seekers to anchor themselves in authentic wisdom and to cultivate inner truth amidst external chaos. Moreover, Enoch's vision of the end times is inseparable from the concept of judgment, not as punitive wrath, but as a natural consequence of spiritual alignment or misalignment. This judgment extends beyond individuals to nations, systems, and cosmic forces. It is a purification process that restores harmony and prepares the way for the fulfillment of divine promises. For modern readers, Enoch's prophecy offers a radical reframing of eschatology, moving away from fatalism and fear toward empowerment and awakening. It reveals that the end times are as much an inner transformation as an outer event. The cosmic upheavals mirror the soul's journey through shadow and light, death, and rebirth. Enoch's end. Time's prophecy challenges us to ask, where do we stand in this unfolding drama? Are we among the false shepherds perpetuating control and ignorance, or are we among the elect carrying the torch of remembrance and alignment? The prophecy invites us to awaken, to prepare, and to participate consciously in the great turning. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch offers a vision of hope amid chaos, a promise that beyond the turmoil lies restoration, justice, and the reunion of heaven and earth. It reminds us that the end times are not merely about endings, but about the dawn of a new spiritual age, where truth shines and the divine order is reestablished. Within the mysterious and symbolic texts of the Book of Enoch lies the figure of the Son of Man, a messianic archetype who predates the historical Jesus, yet bears striking similarities to him. This Son of Man is portrayed not merely as a human leader, but as a divine emissary, the embodiment of justice and redemption, an intermediary between heaven and earth. The presence of this figure in Enoch challenges traditional theological narratives and invites us to reconsider the origins and evolution of messianic thought. Unlike later Christian interpretations that focus on the singular historical figure of Jesus Christ, the Son of Man in Enoch serves as a prototype or cosmic principle, an eternal spiritual ideal representing divine judgment and salvation. He is described as coming with the thousands of holy ones to execute judgment upon the wicked and to restore righteousness to the earth. This figure operates beyond the limits of time and space, symbolizing the ultimate reconciliation between the mortal and the divine. This raises profound questions. Was the Son of Man in Enoch an inspiration for later messianic teachings, or is he an entirely separate cosmic entity whose energy is later reflected in Jesus of Nazareth? Some scholars argue that early Christian thought was deeply influenced by Enochic traditions, integrating the Son of Man motif into the developing Christology. This suggests a continuity of esoteric knowledge that spans centuries and cultures, linking ancient apocalyptic literature to the foundations of Christian doctrine. The Book of Enoch's Son of Man also represents a different approach to messianism, one rooted in cosmic justice rather than political liberation. This figure judges not just individuals, but entire cosmic systems corrupted by rebellion and deceit. He is the bringer of a new order, restoring harmony to a fractured universe. His coming signals not only an end, but a transformation, a rebirth of creation, aligned with divine will. Interestingly, the Son of Man in Enoch remains somewhat hidden, veiled in symbolism and prophecy. His identity is shrouded, reflecting the paradox of divine presence that is both immanent and transcendent. This hiddenness aligns with the esoteric tradition of knowledge reserved for initiates, suggesting that the full understanding of this figure is accessible only to those who have undergone spiritual awakening and initiation. This veiled messianic figure contrasts with the more humanized portrayal of Jesus in the New Testament, emphasizing divine authority over human empathy. Yet the two may be complementary aspects of the same spiritual reality, the cosmic principle of judgment and redemption manifested in human form. This duality highlights the multidimensional nature of spiritual truth, which can be simultaneously transcendent and immanent. The presence of this hidden Messiah in the Book of Enoch also challenges us to reflect on how spiritual archetypes evolve and are transmitted through history. It suggests that spiritual teachings are not static, but living, adapting to the needs and understandings of each era. The Son of Man archetype is a beacon pointing toward the eternal possibility of divine justice and renewal in every age. Moreover, this figure's role as judge and redeemer ties into the larger themes of the Book of Enoch, the fall of angels, the corruption of earth, and the eventual restoration of cosmic order. The Son of Man embodies the hope that despite rebellion and chaos, divine law will ultimately prevail. He represents the cosmic balance that will reassert itself when humanity and creation realign with higher principles. For seekers today, the hidden Messiah of Enoch invites a deeper contemplation of what messianism means beyond religious dogma. It calls us to recognize the presence of divine justice within and around us, to awaken to the spiritual forces shaping history, and to participate consciously in the restoration of harmony. The Son of Man is not just a distant figure from ancient prophecy. He is a living symbol of the transformative power accessible to every awakened soul. In this light, the Book of Enoch enriches our understanding of messianic energy, showing it as a cosmic force, an archetypal principle, and a call to spiritual awakening that transcends time and tradition. It bridges ancient wisdom with modern aspiration, reminding us that the path of the Son of Man is a journey toward justice, unity, and divine fulfillment. The Book of Enoch presents a vision of a final cosmic battle, a confrontation not only of earthly armies, but of spiritual forces that transcends the physical plane. This ultimate war, often described in apocalyptic terms, involves both angelic beings and humanity itself, caught in the crossfire between light and darkness. Unlike typical warfare, this battle is fought on multiple levels: physical, energetic, and metaphysical, with far-reaching consequences for the fate of souls and creation. At its core, the final war represents the culmination of the spiritual conflict ignited by the Watchers' rebellion. The fallen angels, though imprisoned, continue to exert influence through their corrupted offspring and the lingering spiritual contamination on earth. These dark forces rally against the forces of divine order, the archangels, the elect, and the spiritual warriors aligned with the Most High. The battlefield is thus both external and internal, manifesting in human struggles between fear and faith, ignorance and awakening. Enoch describes this war as intense and fierce, with the heavens themselves shaking and celestial armies mobilizing. It is a clash of cosmic proportions, where the outcome will determine not just the destiny of humanity, but the restoration of the entire universe. The forces of light are led by archangels such as Michael and Gabriel, wielding divine authority and power. They fight to break the chains of corruption and to reclaim creation from the shadows of chaos. Humanity's role in this battle is complex. We are not mere spectators, but active participants, carrying the burden of choice and responsibility. Those who align with truth, compassion, and spiritual awakening become allies of the divine forces, while those who succumb to deception and greed perpetuate the cycles of destruction. The war is as much about the collective consciousness as it is about physical conflict. It challenges every soul to discern their allegiance and to engage in the inner warfare of shadow integration. This spiritual war also has symbolic significance. It represents the eternal struggle between ego and soul ignorance, and enlightenment, separation, and unity. The enemies are not always external beings, but aspects within ourselves, the fears, attachments, and false identities that imprison our true nature. Enoch's vision calls for courage, vigilance, and inner purification as essential weapons in this battle. Moreover, the final war echoes across religious and esoteric traditions, appearing as the Armageddon, the cosmic struggle of good versus evil, or the dance of Shiva and Kali in Hinduism. Enoch's account provides a unique perspective by emphasizing the multidimensional nature of the conflict and its intimate connection to human free will and awakening. Despite the intensity of this final confrontation, the Book of Enoch offers hope. It assures that the forces of light will prevail and that the war will culminate in the liberation of souls and the renewal of creation. The victory is not achieved through violence alone, but through the restoration of divine order, justice, and love. This eschatological vision challenges modern readers to reconsider the meaning of conflict and transformation. It suggests that every crisis is an opportunity for spiritual growth, and that the true battlefield is the heart and mind. The final war invites us to awaken, to choose consciously, and to participate in the unfolding redemption of the world. In contemporary times, this message resonates deeply amid global turmoil, environmental crises, and spiritual awakening. The Book of Enoch reminds us that these external events mirror internal battles, and that the outcome depends on collective alignment with higher truths. Ultimately, the final war described by Enoch is a profound metaphor for the journey of the soul through darkness into light. It calls for courage, wisdom, and unity, offering a vision of hope that transcends fear and points toward a restored and harmonious creation. One of the most controversial and intriguing themes woven into the Book of Enoch and echoed in many modern conspiracy and esoteric theories is the notion that the Nephilim's influence did not end with their physical destruction. Instead, their genetic legacy may persist in human bloodlines today. This idea, though unsettling to some, raises critical questions about inherited trauma, spiritual contamination, and the hidden architecture of power in the world. The Nephilim, born from the unnatural union between the Watchers and human women, were hybrids, part divine, part mortal, and deeply corrupted. Their enormous size and strength were outward signs of a deeper spiritual and genetic anomaly. According to Enoch, after the flood wiped out their physical bodies, their spirits remained restless, becoming dark forces that continued to manipulate humanity. But what if traces of their physical DNA also survived in secret bloodlines, subtly influencing the genetic makeup of influential families and elite groups throughout history? This hypothesis is supported by ancient texts and myths that speak of giant blood or divine seed carried in the lineage of kings, priests, and rulers. In the Bible, references to giants after the flood suggest that these hybrid genes were never entirely eradicated. Some esoteric teachings propose that certain royal and aristocratic bloodlines trace their ancestry back to the Nephilim, granting them enhanced traits, but also spiritual burdens, pride, domination, and separation from divine law. In modern times, this idea has been expanded upon by researchers exploring genetic anomalies, unusual physical traits, and the metaphorical dark blood of power elites. The possibility that such ancient genetic contamination influences global power structures offers a provocative lens for understanding systemic corruption and the perpetuation of control. It challenges us to look beyond surface politics and economics to the spiritual and energetic dynamics underlying human history. The concept of Nephilim DNA in modern bloodlines also aligns with the broader theme of spiritual inheritance, how unresolved trauma and ancestral imprints shape collective behavior and consciousness. Just as the Watchers introduced forbidden knowledge that altered humanity's spiritual trajectory, their hybrid offspring may have encoded distortions into human genetics, perpetuating cycles of imbalance and disconnection. Yet this theory is not meant to induce fatalism or despair. Rather, it serves as a call to awareness and healing. Recognizing the presence of such legacies invites conscious work, purification of bloodlines, spiritual reparation, and breaking free from inherited patterns. It underscores the importance of personal and collective transformation in overcoming the shadows of the past. It is also crucial to approach this topic with discernment. While the Book of Enoch provides the foundational narrative, modern interpretations often mix myth speculation and selective evidence. Distinguishing metaphor from literal truth requires deep study and spiritual maturity. The idea of Nephilim DNA is both symbolic and potentially literal, a representation of the ancient struggle between divine order and rebellion, encoded in our very cells. Furthermore, this theme connects to contemporary discussions about transhumanism, genetic engineering, and the ethics of altering human biology. The temptation to play God with genetics echoes the Watcher's original sin of imparting forbidden knowledge prematurely. It warns of repeating ancient mistakes on a technological scale, emphasizing the need for spiritual wisdom alongside scientific advancement. In summary, the legacy of the Nephilim's DNA in modern bloodlines is a powerful symbol of how ancient spiritual battles continue to resonate today. It highlights the hidden layers of influence shaping humanity's destiny and invites a holistic approach to healing that integrates genetic, spiritual, and energetic dimensions. The Book of Enoch challenges us to confront these legacies not with fear, but with courage and conscious choice. The Book of Enoch, with its vivid descriptions of heavenly beings, cosmic journeys, and strange technologies, has long been a touchstone for those exploring the ancient astronaut theory. The idea that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in antiquity and influenced human civilization. Enoch's detailed accounts of the Watchers descending from heaven, riding chariots of fire, and teaching forbidden knowledge resonate deeply with modern interpretations of UFO sightings, alien interventions, and the mysterious origins of advanced ancient knowledge. Enoch's portrayal of the Watchers as angelic beings who physically descend to Earth is strikingly similar to descriptions in ancient astronaut lore. The heavenly Watchers are said to come from the stars, bringing technology and knowledge that humanity could not have developed on its own at the time. Their chariots of fire described as wheels within wheels, or heavenly vehicles parallel modern reports of UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. Some researchers suggest that these biblical angels were actually extraterrestrial visitors, misunderstood and mythologized by ancient peoples. The ancient astronaut theory proposes that many ancient texts, including Enoch, are records of real encounters with advanced beings from other worlds or dimensions. These beings imparted knowledge, mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, medicine that jump-started human development. This is consistent with Enoch's account of forbidden sciences brought by the Watchers. The problem arises when such knowledge is used irresponsibly or prematurely, leading to spiritual and physical corruption. However, the Book of Enoch adds complexity to this narrative by emphasizing the spiritual dimension of these beings. The Watchers are not just alien visitors, they are angelic entities with a specific place in divine hierarchy. Their rebellion is not simply a clash between species, but a violation of cosmic law. This blurs the line between extraterrestrial and spiritual explanations, suggesting that the phenomena described may exist simultaneously on multiple levels: physical, energetic, and symbolic. Moreover, Enoch's detailed journey through the heavens reveals cosmic realms inhabited by various angelic orders, each with distinct roles and appearances. These descriptions challenge simplistic interpretations and invite us to consider a multidimensional universe where extraterrestrials, angels, and spiritual beings overlap or intersect. The ancient astronaut theory, when integrated with Enoch's spiritual cosmology, expands into a framework that includes interdimensional travel and consciousness beyond the physical. This synthesis raises important questions. Are the aliens of ancient texts literal beings from other planets or manifestations of spiritual entities perceived through the lens of human experience? Could the ancient astronaut phenomenon be part of a broader cosmic drama involving multiple realities. The Book of Enoch doesn't provide direct answers, but offers a rich tapestry of imagery that encourages exploration and discernment. In contemporary culture, the fascination with aliens and UFOs reflects humanity's search for origins, meaning, and connection to the cosmos. Enoch's ancient account taps into this yearning, providing a sacred context for what might otherwise be dismissed as mere science fiction. It challenges us to expand our worldview and consider that spiritual truths and cosmic realities are not mutually exclusive, but deeply intertwined. Importantly, the Book of Enoch warns against blindly embracing these phenomena without spiritual grounding. The Watcher's Fall demonstrates the dangers of mixing divine knowledge with ego and desire. Modern seekers are cautioned to approach extraterrestrial encounters or cosmic mysteries with discernment, humility, and alignment with higher principles. Ultimately, Enoch's narrative bridges ancient myth, spiritual revelation, and modern inquiry into extraterrestrial life. It invites us to view the cosmos as a vast interconnected system where beings from other worlds or dimensions may play roles in humanity's spiritual evolution, for better or worse. Whether these aliens are literal or symbolic, the message remains: spiritual wisdom must guide our exploration of the unknown. Beyond the cosmic battles and angelic realms, the Book of Enoch delves deeply into the inner landscape of the mind and consciousness, offering secret teachings that remain relevant for spiritual seekers today. Enoch's journeys through the heavens are not only physical ascensions, but metaphors for expanding awareness, revealing how consciousness operates across multiple dimensions, and how awakening requires mastery over the subtle layers of the self. Enoch describes encounters with angelic beings who reveal the architecture of thought, memory, and perception. These teachings emphasize that the mind is not a static organ, but a dynamic, multidimensional field, capable of both light and shadow. The Watchers who fell did so partly because they lost control over their own consciousness, allowing desire, pride, and ego to override divine order. This serves as a warning that spiritual power without mental discipline leads to downfall. The Book of Enoch presents consciousness as a vehicle for divine communication. Through expanded awareness, Enoch accesses visions of the past and future, perceives hidden truths, and receives messages encoded in cosmic symbols. This suggests that consciousness is a bridge between the human and the divine, a gateway to higher realities. The secret teachings encourage the cultivation of inner stillness, clarity, and discernment to navigate these realms safely. Moreover, Enoch reveals the existence of thought forms and energetic creations, shapes formed by intention and emotion that influence reality. These subtle energies can either build or destroy, depending on the alignment of the consciousness that creates them. This ancient wisdom aligns with modern concepts of the power of intention manifestation and the energetic impact of emotions on the physical world. The mind's role in spiritual evolution is further emphasized through lessons on memory and karmic patterns. Enoch's visions reveal that souls carry imprints from past actions, experiences, and even ancestral histories. Healing and liberation come from uncovering these hidden layers and integrating them consciously. The Book of Enoch invites seekers to engage in inner work to confront shadows, release attachments, and reclaim lost parts of the self. Importantly, Enoch teaches that true knowledge is not intellectual accumulation, but experiential realization. The mind must be transformed from a tool of ego-driven thought into an instrument of divine insight. This transformation requires humility, devotion, and sustained practice. Only then can consciousness transcend the limitations of the material world and access the higher truths encoded in the heavens. The Book of Enoch also warns of mental deceptions, false visions, delusions, and psychic manipulations that can mislead the unwary. The watchers, having corrupted themselves through forbidden knowledge, became masters of illusion. Modern seekers are cautioned to develop discernment grounding and spiritual protection to avoid similar traps. The mind, while powerful, can be both the key and the prison. This ancient teaching resonates with many esoteric traditions that describe consciousness as a ladder of initiation, each rung representing greater awareness and purification. Enoch's ascension mirrors this process, showing that mastery over the mind is essential for traversing spiritual realms and fulfilling one's destiny. For contemporary spiritual practitioners, these insights offer practical guidance. Meditation, inner reflection, and energetic hygiene become not optional, but necessary tools for awakening. Understanding the mind as a sacred temple, guarded by divine laws, reframes personal transformation as both a psychological and cosmic responsibility. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch reveals that consciousness is at the heart of the cosmic drama. The battles between angels and fallen forces, the cycles of judgment and renewal, all unfold within and through the mind. Awakening, therefore, is not just about external events, but about reclaiming mastery over one's own inner universe, a journey that begins with the humble scribe who walked with God and transcended the bounds of mortal time. While reincarnation is not explicitly detailed in mainstream biblical texts, the Book of Enoch offers subtle hints that suggest a cyclical view of the soul's journey, one that aligns with the concept of reincarnation or soul return. This esoteric layer of Enoch's teachings expands our understanding of spiritual justice, karma, and the evolution of consciousness across lifetimes. Throughout his visions, Enoch observes that souls are judged not just once, but over many generations, implying that the consequences of actions extend beyond a single lifetime. The fallen watchers are condemned to remain bound until the consummation of their sins, suggesting that their punishment spans vast stretches of time beyond the confines of physical death. This temporal flexibility hints at an ongoing process of soul reckoning that may include multiple incarnations. Moreover, Enoch's portrayal of the spiritual realm includes concepts of soul memory and the weighing of deeds, an assessment of accumulated spiritual debts and merits. Such a framework aligns with karmic principles found in other ancient traditions, where the soul's progress depends on lessons learned and balances restored over successive lives. The cyclical unfolding of these lessons challenges linear views of life and death. The Book of Enoch also refers to the spirits of the giants, who after their physical demise become restless entities wandering the earth. Their continued presence suggests a form of spiritual persistence and reincarnative cycle, where the unresolved energies of the past affect the living. This intertwining of ancestral spirits with the present echoes the idea that past lives influence current incarnations. While the text does not use the word reincarnation, its symbolic language points toward a reality where souls can return to the earthly plane for correction, growth, or completion. This esoteric understanding situates human existence within a vast tapestry of soul evolution, where each incarnation offers an opportunity to realign with divine will and transcend previous limitations. Reincarnation in Enoch also intersects with the concept of divine justice. Souls are not condemned eternally, but given chances for repentance and transformation. The binding of the Watchers until the appointed time suggests a probationary period during which spiritual progress can occur. This reflects a merciful aspect of divine law emphasizing growth over punishment. For modern spiritual seekers, this hidden teaching invites a reassessment of life, death, and destiny. It suggests that our current experiences are part of a larger continuum, and that understanding past lives can illuminate present challenges. The Book of Enoch encourages exploration of soul memory, inner healing, and conscious evolution as paths toward liberation. This view also challenges rigid dogmas that see life as a one-time test. Instead, it opens space for hope and renewal, where mistakes are not final, but stepping stones. It also places responsibility on individuals to actively engage in spiritual growth, knowing that each lifetime impacts the soul's trajectory. The cyclical nature of time and soul in Enoch aligns with other ancient wisdom traditions, Hinduism, Buddhism, and various indigenous teachings that embrace reincarnation as a fundamental cosmic principle. This convergence suggests a universal truth embedded across cultures and epochs. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch's nuanced hints about reincarnation enrich its message of justice, mercy, and transformation. They remind us that the soul's journey is long and complex, and that awakening involves remembering not just who we are now, but who we have been, and who we have the potential to become. This perspective deepens our understanding of cosmic law and inspires a more compassionate, hopeful approach to the mysteries of existence. The Book of Enoch reveals a hidden lineage of sacred knowledge passed down through secret priesthoods, guardians of divine wisdom, who have preserved esoteric teachings from ancient times to the present. These initiates were entrusted with the responsibility of maintaining cosmic order, interpreting celestial messages, and guiding humanity through spiritual initiation. Their existence bridges the gap between the heavenly realms Enoch witnessed and the earthly civilizations that carried fragments of this knowledge forward. Enoch himself is portrayed as a patriarchal figure within this sacred tradition. His role as scribe, prophet, and mediator established a template for secret orders that guarded the mysteries of the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the celestial spheres. These priesthoods operated in the shadows, teaching initiation rites, deciphering sacred geometry, and preserving coded wisdom in symbols and rituals. Their knowledge was never meant for the unprepared, lest it be misused or misunderstood. Throughout history, various cultures have maintained their own versions of these secret societies: Essenes Gnostics, Hermetic orders, mystery schools, and esoteric brotherhoods. Many scholars link the Dead Sea Scrolls and other ancient manuscripts to these groups, suggesting that they were heirs to Enochic wisdom. These priesthoods guarded the delicate balance between revealing truth and protecting the uninitiated, embodying both the light of knowledge and the caution of responsibility. The Book of Enoch's emphasis on initiation reflects a broader spiritual principle. Enlightenment is a process, not an event. The sacred knowledge is layered in levels accessible only as the seeker matures and purifies. This idea underpins the rites of passage in many ancient civilizations, where initiates undergo trials to prepare for higher understanding. The priesthoods ensured that such transformations were respected and not trivialized. Secrecy was vital for these orders, as their knowledge often challenged prevailing religious and political powers. The wisdom of Enoch threatened orthodox narratives by exposing forbidden truths about angels, spiritual hierarchies, and the origins of evil. This led to suppression, persecution, and the deliberate hiding of texts. Yet despite these obstacles, the priesthood survived, often encoded in symbols, myths, and oral traditions. One of the central teachings preserved by these secret societies involves the balance between light and darkness within the human soul and the cosmos. Enoch's revelations underscore that true initiation requires integrating shadow as much as embracing light. This holistic approach distinguishes genuine esoteric traditions from dogmatic systems that fear or deny the complexities of spiritual growth. In modern times, the legacy of these priesthoods invites renewed interest in the recovery of ancient wisdom. Contemporary seekers often trace their spiritual lineage back to these orders, seeking initiation into the mysteries once held by Enoch and his followers. This resurgence reflects a collective longing for authentic connection to divine knowledge beyond surface religion or materialist science. However, the Book of Enoch warns that access to this knowledge demands humility, discipline, and moral integrity. The same teachings that elevate can also corrupt if mishandled, as demonstrated by the Watcher's fall. The secret priesthoods are custodians, not owners of sacred wisdom, serving the divine plan rather than personal power. Understanding the role of these priesthoods helps explain the persistence of esoteric traditions throughout history, despite suppression. It also clarifies why certain spiritual truths appear veiled or paradoxical. They are encrypted to protect the unready and preserve the transformative potential for future generations. Ultimately, the secret priesthoods connected to Enoch represent the timeless human quest for divine understanding and the conscious stewardship of sacred knowledge. They remind us that spiritual awakening is both a personal journey and a collective responsibility passed down through the ages by those willing to walk the path of light and shadow with courage and wisdom. The Book of Enoch is saturated with symbolic language numerology and encoded messages that extend far beyond literal narrative. These esoteric elements serve not only as mystical decoration, but as gateways into deeper layers of meaning, inviting the reader to decipher cosmic laws hidden within the text. Understanding these symbols and numbers is essential to grasping the full scope of Enoch's revelations about the universe's spiritual hierarchies and the cycles of time. Numbers play a particularly prominent role in the text. The recurrence of significant numbers 7, 10, 12, 70, and 144 reflects sacred geometry and cosmic order. The number 7, for example, appears throughout as a symbol of completeness and divine perfection seen in the 7 heavens, 7 archangels, and 7 days of creation. The 70 shepherds or leaders mentioned in the book represent spiritual authorities, each tasked with overseeing aspects of creation. These numbers are not arbitrary, but encode energetic patterns that govern spiritual realities. Symbols such as wheels, within wheels, fiery chariots and pillars of light represent multidimensional structures and spiritual gateways. These images parallel visions found in other apocalyptic literature and ancient mythologies, emphasizing movement, transformation, and the interconnectedness of all things. The wheels suggest cycles of time, cosmic wheels of fate, and vehicles of ascension. Understanding these symbols as living dynamic codes rather than static pictures unlocks new interpretations of Enoch's cosmic vision, the Book of Parables. A significant section within Enoch is particularly dense with coded prophecy. Its allegories describe the Son of Man, the final judgment, and the fate of souls using metaphorical language that challenges literalist readings. The text's cryptic style protects its deeper messages, making them accessible only to those initiated in symbolic interpretation. This tradition of encryption preserves spiritual truths across generations, shielding them from misuse or misinterpretation. Numerology in Enoch is intertwined with astrology and cosmic cycles. The positions and movements of celestial bodies correlate with spiritual events on Earth, aligning human destiny with the rhythms of the heavens. Numbers guide not just prophecy, but ritual timing, initiation sequences, and the calibration of sacred spaces. The study of these numeric codes connects Enochic wisdom to broader esoteric disciplines, such as Kabbalah Hermeticism and sacred geometry. The importance of codes and symbols also reflects the Book of Enoch's historical context. In times of persecution, hidden wisdom was transmitted through symbols to ensure survival. These cryptic messages functioned as spiritual passwords, allowing the initiated to recognize truths veiled from public view. The complexity of these codes demands not only intellectual effort, but intuitive insight, encouraging readers to develop both mind and heart. Modern readers and researchers often overlook these symbolic layers, focusing instead on the literal or sensational aspects of Enoch's stories. Yet the real power of the text lies in its invitation to engage with mystery, to enter into the process of decoding cosmic language and participating in the unfolding revelation. This aligns with the ancient tradition that wisdom is a living process requiring active discovery rather than passive reception. Furthermore, these symbols and numbers serve as tools for meditation and spiritual practice. Contemplating sacred geometry or repeating numeric sequences can activate higher states of consciousness, aligning the seeker with the divine order encoded in creation. The Book of Enoch thus functions not only as prophecy, but as a manual for spiritual awakening. In essence, the symbolic and numeric language of the Book of Enoch is a profound reminder that the universe communicates in codes. To understand our place within it, we must learn to read these codes not just with the intellect, but with the soul. This decoding is a lifelong journey, promising deeper insight into the mysteries of existence and the path back to the divine source. The Book of Enoch ends with a chilling warning that the story of the Watchers, the fallen angels who corrupted humanity, is not yet complete. Though bound and imprisoned for their rebellion, the text hints that these ancient beings may one day return, their influence resurfacing in new forms, once again challenging the divine order and humanity's spiritual evolution. This possibility of the Watcher's return raises urgent questions about the ongoing battle for Earth's soul and the hidden forces shaping our present era. The prophecy suggests that the Watcher's imprisonment is temporary, held until a great day when their final judgment will occur. Until then, their energy and influence linger in the shadows, infiltrating human affairs through secret pacts, spiritual deception, and manipulations of power structures. This subtle infiltration manifests not as overt angelic presence, but through dark agendas that distort truth and foster division, violence, and spiritual amnesia. Many esoteric and conspiracy theories interpret this as the return of the fallen ones under different guises, whether as hidden elites, extraterrestrial manipulators, or spiritual parasites. The Book of Enoch's narrative supports the idea that the Watcher's essence has never fully left the Earth's energetic field, continuing to exert pressure on humanity's collective consciousness. Their return is therefore less about physical descent and more about the reactivation of dormant influences that must be consciously recognized and resisted. This return also aligns with the concept of spiritual cycles and cosmic timing emphasized throughout Enoch's teachings. Just as history repeats in fractal patterns, spiritual battles recur on different scales. The Watcher's resurgence signals a critical juncture, an opportunity for humanity to awaken, confront shadow forces, and reclaim sovereignty. The prophecy serves as both a warning and a call to preparedness. In practical terms, the Watcher's return can be understood as the resurgence of ancient patterns of corruption, manipulative control systems, false knowledge, distorted power dynamics, and spiritual blindness. These themes are evident in contemporary global crises, political manipulation, technological overreach, and cultural fragmentation that echo the chaos sown by the original rebellion. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free from their grip. Spiritually, this concept challenges seekers to develop discernment, inner strength, and alignment with higher truths. The Watcher's return is not inevitable doom, but a test of collective awakening. It calls for vigilance against deception and the cultivation of spiritual sovereignty. The Book of Enoch empowers us with knowledge, not fear, encouraging active participation in the cosmic drama rather than passive acceptance. Furthermore, the prophecy reminds us that light and shadow coexist in every era, and that spiritual evolution involves integrating these dualities consciously. The Watcher's return is a mirror reflecting our inner battles, the unresolved shadows we carry as individuals and communities. Healing these inner wounds diminishes the power of external dark influences. In this context, the return of the Watchers also symbolizes a larger spiritual challenge, the choice between repeating cycles of rebellion or stepping into a new paradigm of harmony. Humanity stands at a crossroads, and the decisions we make collectively will determine the outcome of this ancient conflict. The Book of Enoch's vision of the Watcher's return thus serves as a potent allegory for our times. It calls for awareness, courage, and the reclaiming of forgotten wisdom. By shining light on hidden forces, it invites us to participate consciously in the restoration of cosmic order. Ultimately, the prophecy assures us that despite the looming challenges, the divine plan prevails. The Watcher's return is not the end of the story, but a pivotal chapter in the unfolding drama of redemption, a drama in which each soul plays a vital role. The Book of Enoch culminates in a vision of the final judgment, a cosmic reckoning that transcends human courts and earthly laws. This ultimate event is portrayed not simply as a punishment, but as a profound act of restoration and renewal, where divine justice reclaims the fractured fabric of creation. It marks the end of the age of corruption and the dawning of the new earth, a realm purified and realigned with the will of the Most High. Enoch describes the final judgment as an unveiling of truth, where all deeds hidden and known, good and evil, are brought into the light. This judgment extends beyond individuals to nations, spiritual beings, and even cosmic forces. The book insists that no transgression escapes divine notice. The cosmic ledger inscribed in the tablets of destiny ensures accountability for all. This universal justice is impartial and inescapable, affirming the sacred law that governs all existence. Unlike popular apocalyptic narratives that emphasize destruction and despair, Enoch's vision reveals judgment as a necessary purification, a process akin to spiritual alchemy. The corrupt are not simply destroyed, their impurity is separated and contained, allowing the possibility of restoration in future cycles. The final judgment is thus a transformation, rather than annihilation, a recalibration of the spiritual order. Central to this renewal is the promise of the new earth, a restored creation where harmony prevails. Enoch describes this realm as a place of light, peace, and eternal life, free from the influence of the fallen Watchers and their corrupted offspring. The new earth is not just a physical location, but a state of consciousness, an embodiment of divine will manifesting through perfected souls and nature alike. This new creation reflects the divine intention for all existence: unity, balance, and sacred connection. It is a return to the original blueprint, disrupted by rebellion, a healing of the cosmic wound inflicted in primordial times. The Book of Enoch invites us to envision this new earth not as distant fantasy, but as an attainable reality, both collective and individual, arising from conscious alignment with divine principles. The final judgment also includes the role of the Son of Man, who acts as judge and redeemer. This figure enforces divine law and inaugurates the new age, guiding the elect into the renewed creation. The judgment process distinguishes between those who have embraced light and those who have clung to darkness, emphasizing the importance of choice and spiritual awakening. Importantly, Enoch's portrayal underscores that judgment is not a moment of despair, but of hope. It invites repentance, transformation, and the embrace of higher truths. The cosmic cycle is portrayed as merciful and patient, allowing time for souls to realign before the final reckoning. In today's spiritual context, the final judgment serves as a powerful metaphor for inner transformation. It encourages self-examination, the release of limiting beliefs, and the purification of shadow aspects. The new earth represents the potential for personal and collective awakening, where individuals embody higher frequencies and contribute to global healing. Enoch's vision challenges us to participate consciously in this unfolding process, recognizing that each choice shapes the trajectory of existence. It calls for responsibility, courage, and faith in the divine plan, even amidst chaos and uncertainty. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch assures that despite the trials and darkness, the divine order will be restored. The final judgment is the gateway to a new era of light, justice, and harmony, a testament to the resilience of creation and the enduring power of love. As we reach the culmination of the Book of Enoch's profound revelations, it's crucial to pause and reflect on the personal message embedded within its ancient verses, a message not only for a distant past, but for you, the seeker in this very moment. Enoch's journey, his cosmic visions, and the epic drama of angels and giants are more than historical or mythological accounts. They are a living invitation to awaken, remember, and realign with the sacred path. Enoch's message is fundamentally one of remembrance. It calls upon you to recall the deeper truths hidden beneath layers of cultural conditioning, fear, and forgetfulness. To remember that you are not merely a physical being confined by time and space, but a soul woven into the cosmic tapestry, connected to divine intelligence and eternal light. This remembrance is the key to breaking free from cycles of ignorance and spiritual bondage that the fallen watchers sought to impose. At the heart of this message lies the imperative of choice. The Book of Enoch reveals a universe governed by law and free will, where each soul is invited to choose alignment with truth or deception, light or darkness. Your daily decisions, thoughts, and intentions contribute to this cosmic balance. Enoch's prophecy urges you to cultivate awareness and responsibility, recognizing your role as an active participant in the unfolding drama of creation. Moreover, Enoch's teachings emphasize that spiritual awakening is not reserved for a select few, but is accessible to all who seek with sincerity and humility. The ancient mysteries are no longer hidden behind secret veils. They are awakening within collective consciousness, inviting you to join the lineage of light-bearers who remember the divine law and live accordingly. This democratization of wisdom calls for courage to confront personal shadows, to question inherited beliefs, and to embrace transformation. The Book of Enoch also warns of the dangers of complacency and illusion. It reveals how seductive false knowledge and distorted teachings can be leading souls astray. Your path requires discernment, an inner compass calibrated by love, truth, and direct experience, rather than dogma or external authority. Enoch encourages developing this inner wisdom through meditation study and spiritual practice. Importantly, Enoch's journey models what is possible for every seeker. His ascension through the heavens, his encounters with divine beings, and his reception of cosmic knowledge demonstrate that transformation and expanded awareness are attainable. The path may be challenging, requiring sacrifice and perseverance, but it leads to reunion with the source and liberation from the soul's entrapments. Enoch's message is also a call to healing of yourself, your ancestors, and the earth. Recognizing the wounds inflicted by ancient and ongoing spiritual rebellions, the book invites you to participate in restoration. This involves forgiveness, release of trauma, and active engagement in raising the collective vibration toward harmony and balance. In today's world, marked by rapid change and profound uncertainty, Enoch's timeless message offers grounding and hope. It reminds you that you are part of an eternal story, that your struggles have meaning, and that your awakening contributes to the healing of all. The ancient prophet's voice reaches across millennia to affirm your worth, your power, and your sacred destiny. Ultimately, Enoch calls you to become a watcher of the light, a guardian of truth in a world shadowed by confusion. This is not a passive role, but an active commitment to living consciously, embodying divine principles and inspiring others through example. The journey of Enoch is your journey, the ancient wisdom, your birthright. As you step forward, remember that you are never alone. The same cosmic forces that guided Enoch are available to support and illuminate your path. Your awakening is both a personal revolution and a contribution to the greater awakening of humanity. This is Enoch's final gift to you, the invitation to remember who you truly are, to choose the light, and to walk the sacred path of return home. As we close this deep dive into the Book of Enoch, its mysteries, and its timeless messages, one truth stands clear. You were meant to remember. The journey of Enoch, the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the cosmic cycles is not just ancient history or myth. It is a mirror held up to your soul, a call awakening across the ages. This remembrance is not accidental. It is a divine invitation woven into the fabric of your very being. You are a living thread in the grand tapestry of creation, connected to the eternal light that Enoch glimpsed in the heavens. The stories of cosmic rebellion and redemption are reflections of the inner battles that each of us faces. The struggle to rise above fear, ignorance, and limitation, and to reclaim your rightful place as co-creator in the universe. This is your awakening call to remember the divine blueprint etched within your soul and to live in alignment with it. The Book of Enoch reminds us that the cycles of darkness and light are part of the cosmic dance. Though the Watchers fell and chaos followed, the light endures, hidden, waiting, always returning. Likewise, within you lies the spark of divine remembrance, the capacity to transcend old patterns, heal ancestral wounds, and break free from soul traps. Your journey is both personal and collective, a participation in the unfolding restoration of cosmic order. Remembering is not simply intellectual knowledge. It is a profound shift in consciousness. It is feeling the interconnectedness of all things, sensing the sacred in everyday moments, and choosing love over fear, truth over deception. It is stepping into the role of the Watcher, the guardian of light and wisdom in a world still shadowed by confusion. This role demands courage, humility, and unwavering commitment. As you integrate these ancient truths, understand that you are not alone. The forces of light that guided Enoch, archangels, celestial beings, the divine spark within, are present to support you. The path may be challenging, filled with trials that test your resolve, but every step forward is a victory against the forces that seek to keep humanity asleep. The Book of Enoch ultimately teaches that the end is not destruction, but transformation. The end times are the times of remembering, realigning, and awakening to the eternal self beyond time and space. You are invited to embrace this process with open heart and clear vision, knowing that your awakening contributes to the healing and evolution of the entire cosmos. So take this moment as a sacred turning point. Let the ancient wisdom infuse your being and guide your choices. Live consciously, walk the path of light, and become a beacon for others still lost in the darkness. Your remembrance is a gift not just to yourself, but to all life. You were never truly lost or trapped. You were always meant to remember. And in that remembrance lies your freedom, your power, and your divine destiny. Thank you for walking this journey through the Book of Enoch. May its light continue to illuminate your path.